Hi guys, it's Blackie. Okay, I am at my Silver Wolf class, followed by my gathering. It's been a real great success. We've had a lot of interesting people. The Silver Wolf class went well. We had about 12 students, and we had some had to back out at the last minute due to health concerns, and I understood that. We had people from New York, New Jersey, Minnesota, Arizona, Michigan, all kinds of places all over the place. So it was a really good gathering. And then in the intro to this, you got to see the storm a little bit. This was on Wednesday night of the beginning of my gathering. We had a major storm front passing through. Many parts of the country got chewed up pretty good by it. And it was just a solid line of supercells and stuff rolling in off the Gulf. For the most part, it was not that bad. We had a little bit of lightning on the front edge of it, and then once we got underneath the actual wide front that's causing these storms, we had got into our vehicles and got out in the middle of the open because of lightning. You don't want to be in around these big old tall trees next to water in an electrical storm, because they are just lightning rods waiting to happen. So we got out in our vehicles in the open area away from that. For say 45 minutes we had pretty good bit of electrical, and then once it had quit, then we could, we kind of divided up and went on back to our camps. And I had set up my one wind penumbra. This is the hot tent that I've showed in my videos, and this is 2 years I've had this tent. So I wanted to give you a little walk around. And so I showed you the footage of me getting through the storm. Now let me show you around my tent and my setup a little bit. And excuse the wind, we still got, a little bit of, we're not supposed to get any rain, but we still got weather moving through, Okay, to the front, I'm using a MRE box right there. I don't know if you can quite, so I think you can. That's being a garbage can for me at the moment. Dry garbage is going in that, like the wrappers, stuff like that. Nothing that's going to attract ants or whatever. The ant type food containers and things like that are either burned or put separately in a actual trash can they got over here in the park. Okay, so I'm not attracting things to my tent. Past that, you'll see my little table. I'll give you a little close-up of that right now. Okay, on my little table right there, you see I have a Trangia 25 that was just gifted to me by Mr. Chuck, as well as you can see part of my Swiss M40 set there on the corner. That's what I've been cooking. At the height of the storm last night, I took that metal table and moved it out in the middle over here, and I unzipped each door about halfway. This allowed a good cross ventilation. I was able to fire up that 25 where you see the pot set up right there, and my Trangia under that, and be able to heat up my supper without having to worry about fumes or whatever inside the tent. Took less than 10 minutes for it to heat up to boiling water, and then I just put it out, left the zippered flaps open for about 10 minutes to make sure I'd got all the fumes out, and then I was good to go. Then I zipped up my ends. Now when we come inside, this is a large table I was using in the Silver Wolf class that I made. It folded up and laid down. It gives me about a 2-inch lift. We were going to have heavy rain, so I wanted to make sure that if water did come underneath the tent, like I showed in the video, it would have a dry place for me to sit gear upon and keep it up off the ground in case the water was flowing underneath the tent due to ground saturation. It didn't, but I use it right now as a place to store like extra stuff or whatever on top of it. Of course, I can pull that out and use that table as I need. Okay, as you can see, I have to walk a little stooped over. Here is my hammock, which is a full-size 11-foot hammock. I set it kind of closer to the back tree than front to give me a little bit more of a vestibule up front to be able to cook and etc. I've got my underquilt on because it's going to be kind of cool last night. Sit down, nice and easy. I'm at the perfect height. There, I had to adjust the camera. Okay, I've got plenty of room in here. And this hot tent has such a heavy coating on it, it did really good in that severe weather. We had high winds, heavy rain, and I stayed completely dry. Now this tent has been used for 2 years now for heavy camping, and I've got one little strip up here in the center on my ridge that I need to re-roll. It's not leaking, but it's weeping a little bit, where you see a little drop come out just a little, and maybe once a half hour you'll actually get a drop. But it's just simply that. Also, these tents, when they seal up, they are truly waterproof, and so therefore you need to keep adequate ventilation. Otherwise you get condensation real bad in them. So in my front, which was toward the primary wind, I left about a 1-hand gap in the zippers to let air in. On my back, the way away from the way the wind was going, I left a 2-hand gap, and that kept a slight positive airflow flowing through. Not really a lot of cold wind, but a little mild breeze to come through and keep condensation forming on the walls and running down. That's one thing when you've got a truly well-sealed one, you do get condensation pretty bad. My sleeping bag I fold in half over the ridge line of the hammock back here on the back. That gives me access to it where I can just lay down and pull it to the front and get into it at night. At the same time, it keeps it up off the ground, keeps it airy, keeps it dry. Very easy. Now let me show you this side of the tent. Okay, right inside the door I have my small little stool, which I can pull out with my chair out front. Right now it's got my grail on it, my knife, and my haversack. Then I've got my barrel. That is my clothes locker. Now whenever my entire camp goes inside of that, as far as my tent and all my underquilts, my hammock and everything, and my clothing. So in the bottom is my closet. It's going to be guaranteed dry because it's a sealed up barrel. I have my 5-gallon bucket, which all my tools and my quick add-ons. You can see my poncho right there and a cordage pile from the class. Up here on my table, this is just simply a fold-up, roll-up table that I utilize. I have my lantern. I have my canteen, extra sodas. Then I've got my wooden crate that I'm using as a chuck box that has my food in it. And over there is a cardboard box that's got MREs in it. This handles my substance. I've got plenty of storage up under this table, you see, so I can make even more room in here should I need to. Now, the back. Let me show you from the back forward. This is something I'm trying. My straps. I had one of my one-wind straps finally give up the ghost after 5 years of use. It finally frayed out on me on one side, so I replaced it with this heavy blue webbing. I'm testing it out to make up my own safety strap, hanging strap. And of course, there's that table. Now, this is what it looks like from the back looking forward. There's plenty of room up front to put my chair to sit down in here and everything, so I've got plenty of space to. In fact, my electric e-bike I parked right here on the side during the storm to get it inside. I still had plenty of room to maneuver. Now, this is how I'm putting up the sides. This is simply just a 1x1 pine stake that you can get at Home Depot or whatever. Sometimes it's called staking, sometimes it's called other things, or a marker. I have a stake there, one in the middle, one on the end, and then these simply come up to the side poles and come out to a guy line which goes to a stake here. I'm using bank line for this, and that is how it's deployed. With the 4 corners held out, it acts like a wall tent. Sorry for the wind. There is only one thing with this, and to tie the doors open, you see what I've done. Along the edge, you have these loops. I go to the lowest loop. Here's the end of the door with my stake loop in it, and I tie a piece of paracord to it so I can come up here and tie to this to make my doors stand open. With this penumbra, you get a smoke flap, which is right there. Now it is a square of Velcro going around, and then you have one insert that has a fireproof with a hole in it for your pipe to come out for your wood stove, or they give you this one, which is simply a clear window. If there would be any criticism of this, they need to make these flaps bigger so they come all the way down below it. It's designed as, it's got Velcro along the bottom edge of it to anchor, but if you just stick it without the plastic insert in it, wind will scoop under the side and blow into the tent, or rain, because wind hit here and it blow right under, see. And the inserts they have fill it up too much. I think they need to make this flap a little bit longer and put an extra row of Velcro along the bottom. Now, the problem is without this up here, and let me show you what happens when I drop the stake. See what happens to the roof? That becomes a flat spot right there when you got it set up in this wall tent configuration. And that means water is going to run down here and it's going to drip inside. At the top of this, there's a toggle up underneath here that allows you to roll this flap up when you're going to use a wood stove and toggle it. I attached a piece of paracord and an additional stake and then ran it out and got it out. That way I can do like this and pull it up, stake it like that, and that holds that vertical so rain doesn't run underneath. Now the rain will sheet off or run around it, so I don't have a leak there. It's not really a design flaw, it's just the way it's made, and I know it doesn't look like much to look at it, but it's a very comfortable shelter. Now it's just run by a ridge line across, and this ridge line stays with this tent. I've already got the prusik knots on it right here for anchoring it to the line. Now my line, my actual ridge line, this one, was a little short, so you see I added in, I brought out of my cordage pouch a piece of pre-made up cordage to create and make a longer line, so I had more to do. Now this with this bank line right here is anchored to it, and therefore it is not going to slide loose. It will stay anchored in place. Simple and easy. I took a magic marker and marked, as you can see right there, right here, there's a B for back. One side to be the front door, one side to be the back door, so I just went ahead and marked on it so I could tell it when I'm setting it up where the doors are. And so that way, as I set up in a certain configuration, it'll be a certain way. Now I keep this little folding wooden stool here in the front. When I'm sitting in my chair, this is a leg stool, a leg, support, so I can put my legs on it. It's also handy, like you see, I'm at the right level. Right here is my cook sets, right here, where I can set them outside the tent in good weather and set them right inside. Since the top of the tarp is 14 feet out, I'm putting my doors shorter, so instead of it being a flat like that for a wall, it's actually like this, where here's the door and the point goes on it, so you got kind of like a little porch, like I mentioned in the earlier video clip. That means that I can unzip it and not have rain just blowing straight in, so I can unzip for ventilation, so I can fire up my Trangia and be able to cook inside the tent, as long as you're doing it in control. Now the Trangia doesn't flare up because it's just an alcohol stove. If you're going to be using an MS sleep system, an MS system or whatever, that's one of them pressurized tanks that make those big flare-ups, I wouldn't suggest doing it in here. This is flame retardant, and they send you a piece to test where it should be able to be exposed to a raw flame for 60 seconds. So a little puff of heat ain't going to hurt it, but at the same time, we wouldn't want a true fire in here. Don't think about getting in here and using a twig stove or whatever on the floor. That's not going to work out, because you're going to coat the inside with soot, and it means everything you put in here is going to be dirty after that. But a little Trangia like that works just fine. This is day 9 for me of camping out. I've been in this tent now for 9 days, and I've got 4 more to go, so I'll be 13 days camping in this rig right here. I'm very happy, I'm very comfortable in it by setting it up in this wall tent configuration. Now in good weather, now that the main storm is past, when new storms are going to be coming, I may change it. If I do that, I'll shoot an addendum, a show at a different time, where I'll leave the one side staked to where it is, and I'll take the door on this side, pull it forward, stake it, take this door out and stake it, then I'll take this entire side of the tent and open it up, and then open it up like an awning, and I'll take my 2 side poles and put it like a porch. My hammock will still be in position, see, but I'll have a sitting porch, a big wide sitting porch out here to sit and enjoy myself underneath the tarp. All these One Wind penumbras is just a great big tarp with zippers. I had a granddaddy long legs crawling on my hat with zippers on both ends. So once you learn how to run the zippers, a very effective sealed up shelter. I mean, last night about 9:30 when that major, it was either a tornado went over us or more likely it was a supercell collapsing, because the wind had been coming from that way going that way, and suddenly it changed direction and it was 60, 70, 80 mile an hour wind. The tent was just shaking like a trash bag in a hurricane for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and then it suddenly went, and it was just still calm air. And so I'm pretty sure it was that main line, direct line winds hitting us. One Wind did good. Nothing tore out. It never went to leaking. I did have 2 stakes on that side when that heavy gust hit. They pulled up, did not come out of the ground, but they did pull up some. But the grommets look good. All of your stress points are reinforced by a 4-inch passenger material on the inside, so it's not going to tear out easy. It held up really well, and I'm very proud of it. So, for those of you who wanted me to show you my setup with the full One Wind tent, the hot tent, the penumbra, this is it. Yes, you can use it other than in the winter. Now, usually if I had a wood stove, my wood stove would be up here. Notice how I talked about how the hammock is not suspended exactly in the middle. It's more to the far side to give me more room up here. And with these doors closed, I have a space of like 4 feet from about right here to right here be the doors. And so therefore there's plenty of room here for me to put my full chair, have plenty of headroom, and sit and put my feet up and read a book if it's just inclement weather and I don't need to be outside, I need to be buttoned up. And that's part of what I did last night. I sat here and read a book during the storm. All in all, very happy. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be posting more content real soon. Till next time guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day guys.